窒息させる気がない。この野郎、しがみついたまま気絶してやがる。
あれ、そういやゾロ、なんでお前まで波に追われてたんだ？下の町にいたのか？
いや別に。
煙突に刺さってた。
What's up, everybody? Welcome to round 2 of my Zoro adventure here in OP10, and we're going to be playing against Doflamingo. Apologies for the camera angle. I must have slapped it in between rounds, but we still get to see most of the board that matters anyways. But we're going to be playing against Doflamingo, and now I will say this is post-ban list Doflamingo. Quite a few individuals at my store decided to start playing deck lists that were post-ban just because the ban is happening very, very soon. Actually, I think next tomorrow or yesterday. Oh man, you can tell I potentially recording this in the past, but anyways, we're gonna make our best mockery of Doflamingo by playing our own Jinbei, and that's Tony Chopper putting into play a hiking bear. Not nearly as good as Jinbei putting like Boa or a Trafalgar Law into play or a Weevil into play, but we still developed 2 bodies on turn 2. Would have liked to see a Chopper off the Dr. Correa, but hiking bear was about the only option I could choose at this point in time, but I already had the Tony Chopper in hand, so definitely wanted to try to get on the board fast. Pretty interesting kind of playing against Doflamingo in a post-Jinbei world. Doflamingo does not have nearly as much burst, like explosive, when I say burst, like explosion on the board, right? They can't burst out more than 2 to 3 characters in one turn as easily so early in the early game, whereas Zoro can kind of do it still pretty effectively, so it should be pretty interesting. I'm likely going to try to do as much board control as possible, also pushing damage, just because I know Doflamingo kind of could run toe-to-toe with me, and I'm likely going to have less resources to protect my characters than my opponent will, so to try to run my opponent out of resources, that's likely how I'm going to play the game here. Opponent goes ahead and swings a good old 6k with Boa's effect, and I'm just going to take that because I don't have any. I might have a 2k in hand. I think I only have 1 2k, and then Sanji 2k could come in. I actually had 2 2ks, but you know, first one's always free is what I like to say. Why counter the first hit when you can always draw an extra card if you're a 5 life leader? Now the first one's not always free when you're a 4 life leader, so definitely don't take that advice if you're playing leaders with 4 life or 3 life. We find our best curve filler, and that's good old Monkey D. Luffy 5-drop from the new starter deck 22. Nice little effect. When he attacks, he attaches Dawn to a character or leader that's rested, and works really well with Zoro. Lets Zoro immediately buff up the whole squad, and Luffy basically attacks as a 7k in this deck, which is pretty darn awesome. I decided not to swing with the Tony Chopper just because it is a 5k, and they do have the Boa over there. That's the Boa blocker. That's the new special art from the illustration set. So if you're not familiar with that specific art, that's the just your standard Boa blocker, super rare from the starter deck. But anyways, going into Doflamingo's turn, they are on. I ended up going first. I won the dice roll. Doflamingo more often than not likes to go first these days, but that might potentially change with the adjustments to the deck. Taking Jinbei out of the deck definitely altered Doflamingo's play pattern quite a bit. Opponent's going to go ahead and swing. It looks like it's probably going to be a 7k here. Man, not having the Dawn here is pretty unfortunate, but because he put a Jinbei, a good old Weevil into play, definitely likely going to be a 7k. That's likely going into our Luffy. Get a nice little 2k counter out of that. Then we're going to see a 5k go at lead with a Buggy here, and I think we might just give that Chopper blocker up in front. Yep, just let that go, and then pass back to us. Hey, Dr. Correa has something to attack into now. Because of that Buggy swinging in, but I think my opponent just kind of out of things to do this turn. Pretty awkward Dawn spread. They maybe could have committed a little extra to take out Monkey D. Luffy, but I would have definitely committed a few resources from hand because I do have quite a few 2Ks. So going up to my 7 Dawn turn. I don't think I have the Tony Chopper in hand unless I drew that for turn, but I think first we're gonna just kind of do things in a little bit of order here. Want to get that Dawn on Hiking Bear. Hiking Bear is going to buff up the Tony Chopper. Little plus 1k on that. Nice little dice counter for that. And then likely going to attach one, or maybe use one. Typically once Monkey D. Luffy's on the field, I try not to attach stuff to lead if I don't have to, right? Because the Monkey D. Luffy always gives you that free attach here. So likely going to play something out instead. 3-drop, we're going to play out a Zoro, nice little rush Zoro, and then now we can swing with Luffy. Luffy will attach one to my leader, now making the rest of my board pretty darn strong. I'm going to have at least a few 6Ks on board, if not more, with the resources that I'll have here. Got another Dr. Korea on hand, could play that out to try to search up like a chopper or something. Dr. Korea really only in the deck for finding choppers or 2Ks. Not really, you want to find the 3 cost 5K chopper because it's pretty much your best card in the deck. So we're just going to swing 7K. Opponent blocks, gives me a 2K. We're going to go 6K into Weevil here. I think opponent's likely going to give me a counter here. Yep, going to counter out of that with a 1K counter. I think that was a pudding. There was a question. I'm trying to remember this game now because I don't have too much visibility into my opponents here. We swing another effect into Jinbei, and then opponent just counters out of it. And then we're going to swing another. We're going to swing a 3K into the buggy and take the buggy out. So I'm just trying to pressure my opponent here. My opponent did give me quite a few cards from hand for some nice little 6K swings into the rest of the board here. Now we're going to swing another. This is going to be a 7K. I think the 7K is also going to go to Jinbei here. And opponent finally just lets it go. And then now I think because my opponent let the Jinbei go, it's likely that my opponent's also going to let the Boa go at this point. I might have starved them out of resources protecting their board. And I'm unable to clear board here with 5 characters up. This is exactly what you want to see when playing against basically any deck, but especially Doflamingo. Luckily, I have done a pretty good job of avoiding Trafalgar Law. I think Trafalgar Law is probably one of the best cards in this matchup against Zoro, right? Just being able to easily bounce things back to my hand is pretty darn good. Now, obviously, you don't want to bounce my rushers, but anything else is pretty good here. So likely what Dofi's going to do is try to reclaim board. Dofi is at 8 Dawn this turn, so we could see a 6K swing, exactly what I'm expecting here. 6K swing and maybe a Gravity Blade to clean up the rest of the crew here. Let's see here what my opponent decides to do. That would be pretty unfortunate, but it's kind of expected at this point. If an opponent sees, once they hit their 7 Dawn and they're playing a blue deck like Doflamingo, which I think now runs 2 to 3 Gravity Blades. Most of the Doflamingo lists have decided to up the amount of like bottom decking cards now that Jinbei's been banned. So we're seeing a lot more like more red rocks, more Gravity Blades to kind of deal to kind of try to stay ahead on the board, just because you don't have Jinbei to kind of continue that pattern. But just unfortunately, we saw the Gravity Blade bottom deck 2 cards. We do find a Nami Searcher here. We're going to search top 5. Going to look for something cool. We do see a Gum Gum Mole Gun, but we also see a Chopper. I think the Chopper might be the pickup here. Thumbing that Zoro, though. I get okay. Here's my thought process. I have a Korea on hand, so I'm going to try to find a Chopper this way here. Look at the top 4. See if we can see a Chopper here. And we managed to get lucky and do both. We find a Zoro and we find the Chopper here, which is going to be pretty solid here. A few too many bodies on board for Chopper to get some additional value, but I could replace something like the Nami or the Korea that I played this turn. Likely could attach one to Hiking Bear to swing in here, but we always want to get that one attached to lead. I've definitely found myself in quite a few sticky situations because I wasn't attaching one to lead first, especially when it comes to cards like Gum Gum Mole Gun. You gotta have a 6K power character to let that take effect. Opponent's just gonna counter 5K or 1K out of that 5K swing at lead. Just gonna continue to pressure my opponent's hand as much as possible with my threats on board here, and thinking what to do with the 3 Dawn here. I could play out the Zoro, the Rush Zoro, just to swing again. We could also just potentially swing with the Kureha that's on board already if we just attach 2 Dawn to it, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're just gonna keep poking my opponent 5Ks for days. Because my opponent has no boards. We're going to swing 6K. Opponent's going to take both of those hits there. Manages to find a red rock. He's going to red rock the Hiking Bear here. It's great order of operations for me. Good thing I decided to play out my 3-drop last. And it's going to be a rush door. We're going to swing 6K. Opponent takes it again, goes down to 1. And I'm feeling pretty good right now. You got 2 2Ks in hand, a Chopper in hand, and basically what happens in situations like these, when I have a Chopper in hand, I will tend to let things go, right? If my opponent swings into my board here, if I can't easily get out of it. So I will likely not commit 2 2Ks to save that Zoro. I'll instead just let it die and instead have room for Chopper, because again, Chopper is going to require you to have 2 spaces open on the board to play him out, just because he will search something up. Opponent plays out a Boa, going to attach 1 to lead here off of Boa's effect. decided to bottom deck those cards. Gonna look at the top 3 again, get a second look here, and probably trying to set something off the top here. Maybe like a Weevil or a Law would be pretty good here for my opponent. Just as they'll be able to like swing they can swing like 7 or 8k into the Zoro, or even lead. But honestly, like my board is kind of bounce proof at this point, right? You bounce the Zoro, it goes back. I just play it as rush. You bounce one of my searchers, and I play them and I search. It looks like opponent decided to take the top 3 and shove them back on the bottom of the deck as well. 2 boas, not giving my opponent what they wanted here. And we're gonna see two Don go to lead here, and probably gonna be a leader activation. We'll see if they decide to go for that. Go for a blind rip off the top. And they do. It is the Trafalgar Law. Trafalgar Law is gonna come down, and my opponent is in a very weird spot. He's like, I don't really want to bounce any of those at this point, because you're just gonna either get a rusher or you're gonna get a searcher back. So I think the Trafalgar Law is gonna elect not to do anything, and we're gonna get that 7k going at Zoro again. As I said before going into this turn, I was not gonna commit anything. Not gonna commit my 2/2ks to save Zoro and the slightest here, and we're gonna see Zengoku picking up a buggy, so opponent's got at least a 2k in hand, and we're gonna go back to my turn. Got 10 Don to work with, whole lot of little bodies on the board, but hey, in Zoro all you gotta do is attach 2 Don to those little bodies and they start punching for 5ks here. But we do have 2 boa blockers that we're gonna have to get through here, so likely gonna be a chopper in our future here, maybe even a chopper blocker depending, but gonna still maybe swing a little bit with these attackers here. Could attach just 3 Don to each of them to make 6ks happen, or we could just play out the chopper. Definitely gonna play the chopper. I mean, I made the plays I made last turn to get out of that here, and let's see here. Yep, we're gonna go ahead and swing. Good old 6k swing here. Opponent, I believe, gives me that 2k buggy that I asked for, that I saw him pick up last turn. Are we gonna do it again? We're just gonna swing another 6k with another character. We could do it, right? 3 Don to me. I mean, with one of these bodies on board, 3 Don is pretty much the same as playing out a Rush Zoro at this point, because it is just gonna be a 6k swinger. That's one of the scary things about Zoro in general is like, there's just so many incidental bodies on the board, a bunch of 1-drops that eventually just turn into little pingers as the game goes on. And yeah, we're gonna do it again. We're gonna send Nami in there, 6k swing. Opponent's just gonna block it and take it, and let Boa die. Opponent's gonna block again and gonna counter out of that, and then we're gonna play the good old Tony Chopper. Would have loved to see that a few turns earlier, but not hating to see it now. Gonna look at the top 5. Are we gonna whiff? Oh, we almost whiffed. Nice little blocker chopper, the last card there. Slap that into play and pass the turn back to the opponent. And Doflamingo's in a bit of a tough spot. I think they only have like 2 cards in hand at this point. Obviously not enough potential counter to face me on this next turn, so opponents kind of gotta go for a bit of a board clear here. They could try to go for game at this point, but that is way too risky, because any one of my cards could counter out of that and stop that situation. That's just so the nice part about playing Zoro is you're so fast, so in their face, and by the time they're like, oh no, I'm going to lose, you still have like 4 to 5 life, and they can't really just effectively take you out. So opponent's going to swing a 7, I think that's a 7k into my chopper. I'm just going to let it slide here. And I think I'm just going to let everything on my board just die here if my opponent decides to commit resources to kill it here, because there's no reason I should be using a bunch of cards from hand. I need to use the cards from hand when it matters, right? And right now, it doesn't matter to protect these little threats. They're throwaways. Opponent's going to go 8k. I think that 8k is going to go into the Nami. Opponent can't let that Nami stick around if it's going to potentially poke for 6k again next turn. Opponent's going to reveal top off, going to draw a card off Weevil. Got 2 Weevils into play. Was able to cycle 2 cards out of hand. And going back to me here, with only one blocker on board, it's likely that we'll be able to secure victory, especially with the Zoro pickup here. We also have that Sanji in hand, which is a 2k Sanji on play. Give a character 6,000 or more power. I think it's 6,000 or more power. Unblockable. But we're going to start off with a 7k Look at the top 5. Look for something nice. We find another chopper blocker. Throw that on the field there. And 7K lead. Opponent's just gonna block and just not counter out of it. Just gonna block. Blocks us 7K. Okay, it gives me a little bit of a thought here. I've got the Zoro in hand, so I could definitely I could go like three on Kureha, or even 2 on Kureha, and then still play the Zoro and still swing like 7K, 8K. I think is the math there. Oh no, 7K, 7K. So I'm gonna go 6K. Opponent gives me a 2K here. We're gonna crank it up a little bit. We're gonna go 7K here. Opponent's gonna take it. We're gonna play out the Zoro, and then we're gonna go 7K again. Try to finish up the game here, and opponent gives it to me. Opponent only had 1k in hand, and I had still 2 2Ks and a 1K, and my opponent was showing me kind of the cards that he bottomed, and there's basically a bunch of things you could not put into play. But anyways, if you enjoy this type of content, definitely subscribe, and oh yeah, here's the deck list. If you're interested, I got a lot of people always asking for the deck list, so yeah. And you comment about the deck list, I'll know you didn't watch this late. So anyways, thanks everybody.